In looking around on the vehicle here, I think we should probably go ahead and add these door handles here. There are 3 on each side, and they've got some holes in them, some booleans, and I'm wondering, should we go ahead and do that? I think that might be a nice touch, actually. So let's see if we can find a better image of this. I think I saw that number 7 here was pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty good. So let's begin with one of these here, like this. So once again, let's go ahead and hide what we have here in these collections. We should go ahead and grab these here and move them. I'll press M and choose Vehicle Main. Then I'll come back up and make sure I click on the Scene Collection, and let's go ahead and create this. Now, I think what I'll do is create a cylinder and then once again extrude off of that cylinder for the rest of the handle. So let's begin with that. I'll go ahead and create a cylinder here. And I guess I'll just go with 12 sides. I'll scale it down. And let's begin with something like this. I won't need this bottom face here, so let's delete that. And I'm just looking at this little rim here, right there. That's where I want to begin. So I'm going to scale it down in the Z axis here. Let me scale it down a little bit more like that. With this, let's tab into edit mode and select that face there, and then let's just hit I and inset that in a bit. And we're working on this here. So then I'll hit E and pull up. How much is sometimes hard to tell, but maybe, let's go like that. Because I'm trying to think how thick this handle is going to be and how much room we're going to need underneath the handle here. So I'm thinking maybe something like this. I'll hit the I key again to inset in, and I just want to make that little washer, that little rim right there. I know that may be a bit too much, but let's go like that. Now what I think I'll do is let's create another cylinder real quick. And for this one, I'm going to take this down to 6 sides here. Maybe I'll type in 0.1 and 0.2. And then this one, I'll delete the bottom face as well. And I just wanted this one to kind of place on top for that bolt. That's all I really wanted. Let's see if we can get this on here, like that. Yeah, something like that. That's all I really wanted there. Let's go ahead and combine these. I'll select them both and press Control J. Now, for the handle here, what I'd like to do, it looks like there's just a little bit of, yeah, right here. Let's take a look at this. So there's this little bit of an extrusion off of the main cylinder before we go into the handle itself. So let's see if we can get that. Once again, knowing how thick that handle should be is a little bit difficult, but let's go with this. And then I will select these faces here. And let's go to the top view with the 7 key, and I'll extrude straight out in the Y-axis here. And then let's flatten them. Let's press SY and flatten that up like that. Now if we bring that back in, now we've got something to extrude that handle off of. So if I hit I and kind of inset in just a bit, let me hit S and Z and pull that in some. So now we can extrude that handle off of there. To do that, before I do that, let me bring this down to the grid. I just want to bring it down to the grid right there. Okay. Now we've still got those faces selected, and I'll hit E and let's pull out to about here. Right? Well, it's difficult to know exactly how long that should be, but I think probably about like that. Now let's go ahead and use that spin tool again. I'll go to the cursor tool and just click maybe right in here. And then let's go over to the spin tool. Let's just click here. Then I'm going to click and drag like this and bring this around about to here. And maybe we could just type in 90 degrees. We don't need this many edges, so I'll take the number of steps down quite a bit. That may be too little. Maybe like that. Let's try that. And then I'll just go back to the move tool and hit E and Z and pull straight down like that. And then we could delete these faces here as well. X, delete faces. Okay, so we have the basic shape of that. Now what let's do is go ahead and create the circles there, the circle cuts in it. To do that, of course, we're going to need a new cylinder. So let's go ahead and press Shift-A and create a cylinder here. Let's take this back up to 12 sides now. And I'll move it and let's scale it down about like this. Let's scale it up in the Z. So it's about like that. So now that we have that, I want 4 of these. And as we've seen, using the array modifier is a pretty good way to do this. So let's type in 1 in the Y field here. And maybe we need -1. So I'll click and drag and bring this back like this. And then let's increase the count from 2 to 4. Now, let's move it and adjust the relative offset until we get them about the way we want them. Looks like that's probably pretty good there. All right, let's see how we're doing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and apply the array modifier, and I'll select the main object, and then go to Boolean, use the difference operation, click on the eyedropper, select the cutter object, and click Apply. Now let's move these aside and see how we did. Okay, I'll go ahead and delete those. Let's go ahead and smooth it. Shade smooth here. Looks kind of terrible. That's to be expected. We'll turn on auto smooth and let's drag up until we kind of clean some of this up. Maybe something like this. Yeah, I think that's probably about as high as we want to go for that. I'm going to move the origin of this object to this point right here. Shift S2 to move that cursor. And then let's move the origin to the 3D cursor. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and bring everything else back. And let's try and place it on the vehicle here. Let's turn it in the Y-axis, RY90. There we go. Let's go to wireframe with the Z key, and then let's move this up. Kind of put this origin right there and scale it all down to be about the size we want. There we go. Now let's move it into the vehicle here so it just sits right in there. And maybe I'll pull it out just a bit like this. Okay, so we've got that there. Now let's go back to wireframe and let's do the other one. So let's select that, Shift D, Y, I'll move it over to here. Let's spin it in the X, RX180. And then let's just move it down right about there. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I kind of believe that. Okay. Next, this guy right here, the guy in the center. That one, I think should be pretty simple. Let's go ahead and go down to the center of the grid here and work on this. To create this middle handle, let's begin with a cube here. And I'll scale it down. And I think what I'll do is just maybe scale it in the Z a little bit. And let's use that spin tool again. Let's try that. I just want to select this one face here. And maybe I'll scale in a bit in the X while I'm here. Let me do that. There we go. Let's select that one face and let's just pull it out like this. And I'm just only dealing with half of it for now. So I want to pull it out about like that. And then let's move that cursor again to about right here. And then let's come over and click spin. And then I'll click and drag and kind of move it about there once again. Let's type in 90 degrees. And I'll reduce the number of steps here to, oh, what do we think? Something like 3? Yeah, let's try that. And then I'll just extrude out in the Z, E and Z, and pull that straight down like that. Now let's delete this face here. And from here, what I should do, I guess, is just add a mirror modifier to this. So let me just grab this one face here, and I'm going to pull it to this side. And recall, we want to avoid internal faces, so let's delete that one face there. And then what I'll do with this origin still in the center here, I'll go ahead and just add a mirror modifier to it here. We do want a mirror in the y-axis and not the x. I'll turn on edit cage and I'll turn on clipping so that when we grab these points here and drag them in, it'll clip together and merge those points together. So I'll just drag those in and slam them together, and there they are. Now I shouldn't be able to move them apart because once I release the mouse, they've merged together. All right, so now what we can do is just grab this side and we can move it in or out depending on what we need and how big it needs to be and everything. So let's say something like that. Yep, I think that's okay. Now let's go ahead and apply the mirror modifier. Let's move the cursor back down to the center of the grid, and let's move that origin to the 3D cursor there. Let's turn it in the y-axis, RY90. And let's bring the vehicle back, and let's put it in place. So if I go over to the side view again, and let's go to wireframe, I'll scale these down, and let's move it up here. And maybe right about in here, and let's scale it down about like this. Now I feel like it's a little bit too thin, so I'm going to scale it in the Z with S and Z. And let's try that. So we're going to need to push it in now. Push it into there. Let's zoom in with the period key and then just push it right into there. Okay. From here, we can combine all these objects. Just select them all like this. Press Ctrl J. And now let's move the origin into the center of the grid. And let's mirror them over. There we go. Now, I think I would like to play with the smoothing a bit. Let's see what we can do with this. I'll go to Object and Shade Smooth. And over here in the object data, let's make sure Auto Smooth is turned on, and I'll just drag up. That's a little bit too much there. Maybe something like that. Yeah. There we go. So I think we needed those handles on there to complete the doors. So I think that looks pretty good. Now in the next video, I think what I'll do is work on these things here, these supports or platforms for the lights. And also we've got this box-like tubing here. Let's see if we can find a better image of this. Let's take a look at this one here. Yeah, so let me press Control Spacebar again. So this part here, we've got this here and then this here. Now this one is wider than in some of the other images. So I don't know that I want to do this one per se. But anyway, there is this piece here and this piece here. So let's work on that in the next video.